Stay at home tomahawk, ladies and gentlemen. I like to the podcast movies. My name is Garrett Smith.
And my name is Dan Scully. That was very good.
Thank
That
you.
was a way to do that.
Back on lockdown.
Yeah, guys. It's ridiculous because some of you fuckers didn't wear your masks. I can't go back to the movies, and now I just spent all my money to try and build a better theatrical experience at home.
Yes.
And this is all your fault. Wear your masks.
That's right. Wear your masks. Yeah, and I don't know. Is it worth noting that we're recording this on the third day of the presidential election?
I mean, I still remember the Bush and Gore one, which I believe wasn't called until December.
Yep,
and
I remember that.
Anybody who walked into Tuesday night thinking that there was going to be anything close to a result before at least today, Friday, was naive. It sucks because it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But like we were all naive to think that there wasn't going to be what's the word, malarkey. Yes. That there wasn't going to be tons of malarkey around this.
Oh yeah. Well, I was thinking about how the last 4 years ago. We saw Arrival and then walked home to record knowing that Donald Trump was our president.
Wow. Yeah, that was wild.
And now 4 years later, we are, we're recording again, but we don't actually know the results and are sort of in this tumultuous middle period here, which is kind of interesting.
So this is the anniversary of that conversation. And if I remember correctly, based on so this would also be the
oh yes,
Leonard Cohen's death. The
anniversary
of that.
You know what I thought? This might also be the anniversary of Dick Knows. I don't remember if that was the same episode, but it feels like.
Oh my goodness, Dick Knows. I'm gonna give him a blessing. I hope he's doing all right.
Yeah. But no, you might be
wild.
Right. You might be right. That might be Leonard Cohen's death too.
Because I remember we had a conversation just about how this is gonna, and it's funny too because how naive were we? We were like,
oh yeah,
this is going to need to open up. People are going to really have to communicate because we'll be so divided if not, and we're going to have to learn how to get past that and communicate and compromise and drive things home through our values.
And now I want Wiley, Coyote, TNT, everyone that voted in a different way than I did.
It's insane. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm here. I am so filled with just hardcore American hate. It was 4 years ago, I was waxing philosophical about aliens. And I just want to get back to that.
I know. No bet. I think we are literally going to have to work the rest of our foreseeable lifetimes to potentially, maybe, even get back to that moment,
to achieve normalcy. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
If that could even be called normalcy, I think it's literally that.
Someone should have run for president with that slogan. That should have been Biden's build back better, not inspiring. No more malarkey. Cute. Appeals to the grandpa that you're trying to sell. But if it was just something we need to fix this. Wait, what was the phrase you just said? It was a.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, it's what set me off. It was a phrase. Run back the tape. It was a phrase that should have been their slogan. Whatever.
I don't know. I already forgot what I said.
Just something just like get back to normal.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Vote for Garrett. Just that kind of thing. That should have been somebody's slogan. Just normal serenity now, please.
I know. But yeah, I don't know. I think things are seeming to look up here on day 3. There's a little bit of hope in the air.
I'm enjoying watching Philadelphia take credit for flipping PA.
I know, me too.
Because there's nothing more inspiring and more American than when Philadelphians just yell together and scream together and dance in the streets together. And if we ever pull it off without hurting anybody, which seems to be the case so far, It just makes our lovely city look so good. And it makes, at the end of the day, whoever wins, Philly's moment in the sun here has been affirming in a societal sense.
It's very interesting that the fuck around and find out attitude of Philadelphia has kind of come to embody a whole Cardi in a good way,
It's the NJWK thing. We're all just that's someone said that earlier. I think it was on Twitter. Someone was like, "You came at our fuck around and find out energy."
Yeah.
You ready? Are you ready for this?
Yep.
Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, Philadelphia, always there.
I
ready
know
for a
it's
parade at any moment.
yes, yeah.
Count
But
the poles and grease the poles. That's the other
yeah,
thing that's been going
exactly.
around.
Exactly. But yeah, well, kind of on that tip, like so I bought what the hell is that movie called now? Mulholland Drive.
Oh, right on.
That was like there was a Criterion sale recently. I mean, there's another one today, but there was one just a couple weeks ago. And
Wait, can
so
I just stop you real fast? I
yeah.
want to lose this hat because I'm starting to sweat
Oh
because
well,
it's kind of
please
too
show
small.
me all
I
the
need
cool
to
stuff
show
about
this
the
off
hat.
before I lose it. So it's a Jason hat, as you can see, right?
Yeah,
But check this out. If you pull it all the way down,
I
it
love it.
becomes a Jason mask, and you can see through this part.
That's
So you can
great.
become Jason. Now it's for a
So
child, so I have this thing going.
those are
But
not actually eye holes. They're like painted on, and then you can see. That's so funny.
yeah, well, it's like netting. This
Yep, yep.
part's netting, and then you bring it back up to where you were, and you have your little Jason hat. But yeah,
That's
it's
great.
kind of too small.
Yep,
So
love
because
it.
I have a giant head, so I'm losing it. So anyway, Mulholland Drive.
Yeah, it was on Criterion sale, so I bought it because Tori had not seen it, and we had just watched through all of Twin Peaks recently, and both kind of had like a Lynch reawakening. We were both like, "Oh yeah, right, we love David Lynch,"
Hell yeah.
and so I was like, "Oh, well, you got to see Mulholland Drive." So I bought it, and I had not seen it, I think, literally in like 15 years. I watched that movie with former guest Ron Gallo when I was like 19 years old, and I don't think I've seen it since. Um, so we rewatched. So I got to rewatch it, showed it to Tori, and I loved it again. That movie's great,
It's
as
so good.
everybody has said many times. But I guess maybe I'm probably going to spoil it a little bit to talk about it here for a second. So if anybody's
Is Mulholland Drive
spoilable, I
spoilable?
know not really, but
But no, I do. I guess it is.
so for one thing, on having just watched Twin Peaks: The Return. I do think that opened up Mulholland Drive in an interesting way for me, where
Mm.
like now I'm thinking about this idea of like, hey, there are other worlds than these and these other realities that maybe we get glimpses into from time to time that you could almost explain some of Mulholland Drive with that thought, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and so I was thinking about that a lot while I was watching. I was like, wow, that really opens this movie up in some interesting ways that maybe we are getting two different realities or something, but then I woke up the next day and it was the morning. We watched this the night the election was happening. Uh,
Oh, fun.
right. And so then I wake up the next day to find out, the election's not been decided. And immediately Trump is already claiming that there is a lot of fraud, specifically in Pennsylvania, and is essentially trying to discount my vote. You know what I mean? Because I did vote
Hmm.
by mail. Um, and I realized that one of the things that you could argue now, I'm not necessarily arguing a new thing about this movie. This is something I've known is like a thought about this movie. But in the context of what's happening right now, I was like, wow, yeah, that really feels right. One of the ways you could read that movie is that the first half, before they put the key in the blue box, is the dream. It's the dream of what things could be, the way you might want things to be, the dream existence that you want to be living out, exactly where you want to be, how you want to be living, with the people you want to be living. And then as soon as you turn the key, that's the moment you come to reality of, but that dream is all built on denial. That
Mm.
dream is built on denial of this nightmare that is actually being either by you or everyone else. And that feels like the sort of American moment we're having right now. This sort of like the dream of American freedom and democracy is actually built on this sort of like nightmare of denial that we
Hmm.
are all sort of having to live through right now.
Hmm.
And I had heard that reading of that movie before, and it really kind of like rang true for me the next morning as I was like sitting there thinking about what was happening.
I mean, it is like it's like that moment where you realize that your parents weren't superheroes; they were just normal people that were
Right.
getting by,
Right.
and figured it out. And yeah, like that moment of reality where you just have to realize, like, okay, all of these dreams that I have, are attainable, but not like that. Like there's a rickety structure under it all that I have to navigate.
Yeah, this idea of like this beautiful relationship that the two women are developing over the course of the beginning of the movie, I was sort of feeling like, oh, this is like my experience of like buying a home this year and getting to sort of live this like white picket fence American dream with my partner,
Mm.
But like in order for that to be true, there is literally also like half of America living in poverty and like not really getting what they need out of our politicians. And you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, Flint's still got dirty water.
right. And that's like the turning the key moment to realize like, right, but actually I've been living my life as like a drug addict and all my relationships are falling apart around me. And like, you know, that dream is not really real. It's all built on this trauma for others, you know. In that movie, it's a little more obviously. I'm really extrapolating a little bit to get it to where I'm relating it to now. But
I would say that David Lynch's films invite / require extrapolation. I think that's part of the plan. But like, it's been a while since I've seen Mulholland Drive.
Yeah,
but I agree, and it's worth noting that a lot of that footage was started as a show.
Yes.
And they were going to, do like a Twin Peaks-ish, sort of thing with that.
You can very much feel that when you're watching it, that it's like, this movie is not a setup for the finale of the movie. The finale of the movie is definitely something that was like made in retrospect of, we have to complete this somehow. Do you know what I mean?
And I think that's something that that happened with Inland Empire as well. That was I don't know if it was a show, but it was something or other. Like some of his little bunny family short films are integrated into it, and like it's a big sprawling thing. And I don't know, you almost get the sense that like Lynch is almost like improvising a movie. If it wasn't so tight, you'd feel like he, specifically in the case of Mulholland Drive, you'd feel like he's improvising because it like seems to respond to itself if you know that background of it. You know, it starts to respond to the idea that like there was something we wanted this movie to be, but it couldn't. We wanted this to be something, and it had to be something else.
Yes.
So now here's what it is. Yeah. And I the fact that like runs tandem with exactly your experience in the movie of seeing that beautiful world get changed when you just understand it a little better.
Yes.
Is I don't know. It's the kind of thing that I feel like Lynch is the only person who can pull off.
Yeah.
Just because when he's doing that that almost feels like a movie being improv live in front of your face, it's still, I don't know, he has that it still feels meaningful and structured, even as he's sort of, it seems to be riffing. It's so weird to say because you can't riff in film because you're cutting, but I don't know. You know what I mean? Though? It's
I
like
do totally.
Yeah.
Do you remember we talked about this with The Return, where I was talking about, and I think this speaks exactly what you're saying. We talked about how the thing that makes that show work is that Twin Peaks is something that is designed on a scene-by-scene basis. Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem to be designed as a whole. It is literally just a series of scenes where every scene is interesting and good and you like watching, you know? Mm-hmm. And so then it doesn't really matter if it doesn't feel like they're necessarily building to something specific, if they're not designed like Lost, where every little piece is meant to build towards something else. It's okay that they don't, because each scene is interesting.
Yeah. And so you're just always on board. You never have to think about it in a macro sense until after it hits you in the face at the end.
Exactly. And so like Drive, because it was just a pilot that then had to be turned into a movie, it has this interesting benefit of like, a pilot is a perfect example of something that doesn't need to actually round out in any specific way. It really just needs to spark enough interesting ideas. So it just needs a series of interesting scenes.
Oh, yeah. And so he's perfect to just hit that and then...
And so then it's like...
run off with it.
It needs an ending, and he's like, great. All I need now is a series of more interesting scenes. And as long as I can connect the dots on those interesting scenes to these interesting scenes, which he kind of does in a loose, weird way...
He's like, get me a cowboy. I need him over there.
Yep, it's kind of perfect, and it is interesting if you think about the again. I don't necessarily ascribe to this theory. I know that Lynch himself has been very cagey on this movie, and I like that. I think that's good. But
he doesn't explain anything from any of his movies,
right?
Which respect.
Yes, but if you want to ascribe that particular read of this, that like the beginning is a fantasy. And then the end is basically just the actual reality of like, what is really going on in these people's lives. And we were really just watching Naomi Watts' character's kind of fantasy previous to that. If you want to ascribe to that, it is interesting. I was thinking about how like the Justin Theroux character is literally having the worst day that any human being has ever had over the course of the first half of the movie.
You have to refresh me. It's probably been like 5-6 years since I've seen it.
So I'll run it down real quick and easy. So Justin Theroux plays the director of a movie that's being made, right? And the first thing we see is this weird conspiracy where the producers of his movie are going to force him to choose a different lead actress for his movie that he's already in production on. And he's like, he wants none of that. He walks out of the meeting. He won't have it. And then we continue to see that this conspiracy runs very deep, and there are people conspiring to put a specific woman in his movie. Then he goes home from that meeting to find his wife is in bed with a pool guy.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Gets in a fight that ends with the pool guy like breaking his nose.
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
He then
that's a brutal nose break too.
Yes, it's like that whole scene is crazy. Then he like drives to a hotel to hide out for a few minutes for like a night or whatever, where he gets told by the hotel manager there were people here looking for you. He then has to go meet with that cowboy who tells him like, listen, if you want the next day to go well, you're going to cast the actress they want you to cast. Then he goes and he fulfills that. But then I can't remember, something worse even it goes even worse from there. I think like he does get attacked by like the people trying to produce them. It like keeps getting worse.
Yeah.
Right? But then before we ever get any resolution to any of that, the key gets turned and everybody changes. Everybody has new names and everybody is like, operating under different circumstances. And what we find out is that Camilla Rhodes, the woman that Naomi Watts' character is falling in love with over the first half of the movie, she's the actress they wanted him to cast.
Yeah.
And what we find out is Naomi Watts is who I mean right now. She and Camilla are on the outs, and Camilla is going to be cast in this movie that this guy Justin Theroux is directing, and he is having a relationship with her, basically behind Naomi Watts' back. Naomi Watts gets invited to a dinner. Naomi Watts is just like a background actress in that same movie. She gets invited to a dinner party where she literally watches them like make out together as he announces that she's going to be like the new lead actress in the movie. So essentially, what the whole point I'm trying to make with all of this is, in the fantasy world, she's living out a fantasy with Camilla, getting to live out her love life with Camilla. And Justin Theroux is just having the worst fucking day anyone has ever had.
Yeah.
If you want to ascribe to the idea that this is her fantasy, that all makes sense. She is fantasizing that he's having this movie
that he has a nightmare day.
His wife is leaving him and hates him. Like everything is falling apart for him because in reality, everything's going his way. The hot actress that he wants to cast in this movie is becoming his lover. Like,
yeah,
that's ruining her relationship with this woman. It's very funny, actually, to think about.
Yeah, so she's like in her dreams, she's wishing the worst upon this guy who she sees as the like architect of her downfall.
She's punishing this man in her fantasy, basically. Yeah,
that's I would like to watch that again. That's one that I'd like to watch when I get my new TV.
Yes.
Years ago, they did.
So that we don't have to come in contact.
What was that?
I said I'll let you borrow it. I'll mail it to you, so we don't have to come in contact.
Sweet, perfect. I will gladly Venmo you postage.
Yeah.
The Film Society played it at the Film Fest like many years ago.
Yeah.
It was like an anniversary, and they played Mulholland Drive on 35 millimeter, and that's a regret, man. I did not go to that.
Love to see that.
Yeah, that's a regret that I did not get to see that. But man, have you seen Lost Highway?
Not yet. I'm dying to see that.
Do you know the plot of Lost Highway?
I literally don't, and I love Bill Pullman, and I'm dying to see him in a Lynch movie.
It's quite literally a guy goes to jail, and then overnight he just becomes somebody else, and then the movie's the fallout from the fact that he's just turned into a different person.
So interesting.
Henry Rollins is in it.
Dude, this is what I was talking about with The Return, because that's the plot of Dougie Jones, basically, over the course of The Return.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's so interesting.
It's definitely it's a really good like Lynchy Lynch movie. It's not one of my more favorite Lynch movies, but it's also like for some reason when I start thinking about Lynch, like okay, this is gonna be a bad comparison, but like when I picture the Aliens movies, even though I don't like it at all, I picture Alien 3.
Yes, the shot of the shower, the water,
and so like that kind of thing. Now I think it's because I think Lost Highway is like pretty tremendous, but it's not like my favorite of Lynch's output. But when I think of Lynch, so many images from that movie are the ones that I conjure.
Yeah,
and it's like I don't know, it almost feels like a warm up for Mulholland Drive.
That's interesting. Yeah, the other thing I was thinking about is as we've been watching more, because we've watched a lot of his stuff recently, kind of like in a little chunk here. I honestly, the thing that I have liked the most, I think, is Wild at Heart. I think that's my favorite one of his movies. Have you
I
seen
gotta
that?
watch that again. Yeah, because I watched it when we were going to have that
Right.
episode, which I guess we're gonna do when we
We
can,
should do. Yeah.
rearrange that again.
Yeah.
But I watched it, and I remember watching it, and I was like real tired.
Yeah.
And so when I got finished with it, I was like, that was good, but like, was that it? I had that feeling,
Yeah.
and I realized that I think I was like dipping out during it,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I know that, and I because I remember running it back too, and I was like, I think I saw everything, and so I liked it, but I think it's probably a better movie than I think it is in my head right now because I've
That
only seen it that once.
that you know what, in some way then that'll be good when we do finally do an episode on it, because maybe another viewing will kick it
Mm,
for it, because I really liked that might be my favorite thing of his that I've seen so far.
mhm.
I like that a lot.
I'm trying to think of what my favorite would be. My favorite actually might be Mulholland Drive. I mean, that is just a really
It's
good
great.
movie.
Yeah.
But there's still plenty that I haven't seen. I
Yeah,
mean,
me
I'm a
too.
very big Eraserhead fan. That shit is just
Oh,
bonkers.
I saw that when I was 18 as well and have not seen it since.
When I found out while watching Eraserhead the first time I saw it why it's called Eraserhead, the reveal on why it's
Oh,
called
right.
Eraserhead
Right. Yeah.
was one of
Yeah.
those things where I was like, oh, yeah, those are erasers. This is happening. Okay, it was one of those moments I will never forget of where I was like, I think he's brilliant, or I'm dumb, or both, or I don't know. It's look at the chicken, you know.
I mean, I was like 18 when I saw that. I had just gotten to college and, was like a budding movie fan. Like I really got heavy into movies in like middle school, and I continued to do that through high school. I took like a film class in high school. But I would say like before I got to college, I was still like I had mostly seen Mel Brooks and Steven Spielberg movies. Do you know what I
Yes,
mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
I was still sort of like a budding cinephile, like I really had not stretched my legs all of that much. And so then I got to college, and like, a friend's older cousin who was at the same college as me that I went to like a party of when I was a freshman. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
one of
yeah,
those
yeah.
situations where I'm like hanging out with some older people kind of for the first time, but they're kind of treating me like I'm on their whatever. The one guy's like, "Oh yeah, you gotta fucking see this," and he like hands me Eraserhead, and so I like take it to my dorm and watch it, and I was just like, I I don't know, man. What the fuck? Like, what are we? Is this? I guess this is what cinema is once you're an adult. I don't know. Like, what
Yeah.
the fuck?
Is this art?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was
I
the
remember
first
just
time I saw it
not
was in my
knowing.
20s,
Yeah, yeah. I
and
just remember
and
not knowing what to do with it. You know?
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I still don't know what to do with
Yeah,
it, but like,
yeah.
I've really grown to love it. I mean, the first time I saw it, I liked it, but I was probably like 27, 28. It was
Yeah, yeah,
later in life when I
yeah.
first saw it. And it was one of those things where one of my friends, my friend Kevin, you met him, he was like,
Mhm.
you got to watch Eraserhead. And I was like, you know what? I really should. I love David Lynch, and I've never seen that. And he goes, I don't know what it is, but it's never boring. Not for a second.
Great
It's
description.
like, all right.
Yep.
And I took that into it with me. And now that I'm saying this out loud, I know what my favorite David Lynch movie that I've seen
Please.
is. It's definitely Blue Velvet.
Okay. Yes.
Very, very big on Blue Velvet.
Yeah. We just rewatched that as well. Like maybe like within the last 6.
Dennis
Loved it.
Hopper's so manic in that. I love
Yes.
that. But it also gives me the Twin Peaks element of Kyle MacLachlan being there.
Yep.
It's
And
just got the song Blue Velvet. Oh, it's so good.
that fucking scene where the like the song and dance number do you know what I'm talking about, where they
Yeah,
like go to
yeah.
that one house and there's that like just very weird song and dance number.
Hmm.
It's amazing. It's like
It's unbelievable.
it's
Yeah.
so good. It's like, to me, I like that movie. I don't love that movie, but like that scene is so fucking good, and the fact that that movie is designed, to me, like designed around getting me to that scene where I'm like, oh yeah, okay,
Yeah.
amazing. Like
Yeah.
that's an
It's
incredible
incredible.
achievement. Like I don't know how you do that.
And I also have to walk back what I said because I just forgot about the existence of Fire Walk with Me. That is
Oh my
that is
god.
that is 100%. That is my favorite David Lynch movie. I take it all back.
Now that you're saying that, that's the
That's
right
my
answer.
favorite one.
That's the
I
right
just
answer.
always forget about it because it
Yeah.
goes into it's a watch. But as soon as you said musical performance, I thought about the scene at the bar where they have to subtitle it,
Yeah.
and it's got that incredible Badalamenti tune on it.
Yes.
Oh,
I'm
so
with you.
good.
We also just bought that on the Criterion sale because we had just watched it
Nice.
the first time and we loved it. So we wanted to own it, but what it means is what we also own now and have not watched yet is The Missing Pieces, which is like 90 minutes of more Twin Peaks.
When they played
I know. I'm so mad
Firewalk with me with The Missing Pieces, that was, I believe, because I saw it when they played it at Philomoka, and I think it's like 3 hours and 40 minutes. Like, it's a lot of movie. But what's weird is, in perfect Lynch form, it just watches.
Yep.
Now they put in an intermission, which was nice because you get anything over 2 hours should have an intermission, if you ask me. But I got to say, it was awesome, and it's great to see all the pieces. But I think I'd much prefer to watch the pieces by themselves and then the movie as it is, because the actual regular cut of the movie is preferred.
Yeah. That's there's a couple movies like that for me. But am I right about that cut? That's like a fan-made cut?
Yes.
So it's their sort of assumptions about where the missing pieces might go in Lynch's version.
And to their credit, it does not, at no point did it feel like a fan edit.
Right. Yeah.
It really did just feel like a full director's cut of that movie. And honestly, to tell you the truth, though, I speak about it as if at that point I had seen Firewalk with Me more than twice before I had seen the expanded version. So like, it's not something, I've seen the movie 5-6 times now, so it's I could probably speak on it more, but I do remember just the experience being, it seemed very legit and professional, but it did feel like a movie that's 3 hours and change, you know?
Yeah.
But it did move. Like, don't get me wrong, I wasn't bored, but the pacing of the regular cut is just smoother.
Yeah, I that's the other thing is I'm hoping there's some special features on the Criterion that maybe talks a little bit about the production of it, because I'm curious how he ended up making a 4-hour movie. If he thought he was making The Return before The Return and ended up not being able to and having to cut another movie, you know?
Yeah,
I could be right. I'm just speculating at this point, but that is,
he also seems like the kind of guy that is probably just like, well, I'm around a bunch of people who are in Twin Peaks. I better get a couple of scenes into the can.
Oh, for sure. I mean, when you watch The Return, it's like, for sure, that's 100% the case with some of it. That he just, like, at some point, before he really even knew he was making that,
he boyhooded it.
Footage of some of those people doing some work, I think.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of a way that I can start doing my David Lynch impression more.
Oh, I know.
Because that's so...
He's so fun to do!
He's just very loud and polite.
Yes!
Especially when he's Gordon Cole.
And all you do is emphasize every other syllable.
My favorite is an interview with him where they said, I forget what movie they asked about, but they're, he's just very engaging and blah. And then they're like, so a lot of people have this theory about blah, blah, blah movie. Would you care to expound upon that? And he's just like, no. And then they just move on to the next question because he's not going to explain the movie, but he was very polite about it.
Yeah, I love it. That's so good. I love that. But yeah, that I'm glad we got to talk about that for a minute. But I don't want to leave you without a little bit of.
I don't know. I watched so much stuff at the fest that it's just been like, it's mostly been that.
Yeah.
But I will say, I showed Jenna Hereditary the other day.
Oh, yeah, I saw her review of it. Yeah.
And man, I that movie gets better every time I watch it. And I thought it was damn near perfect the first time I saw it. It is so funny. Toni Collette is so like like to get the joke of the movie doesn't take a comic genius. But I don't think anybody on the planet could have played that role that she played the way that she played it and get what she has to do as a humorist as hard as she got that. Yeah. And it because it's not something that's funny on its face. It's something that becomes funny through the textures of this character. Yeah. And I can't imagine anybody else just getting that as well as she did. And it is just fucked up, and I love it.
I have to revisit that because I famously hated that movie, but Tori loves it and she really wants to watch it again. So I think I am going to be revisiting that.
And this time around, this was like the 4th or 5th time I watched it. There's so many things when you know the whole story. Yeah. That as you're watching, you go, "There's that. There's that.
Oh,
there's
interesting.
That, there's that. like I noticed this time around. I never noticed this before. When they show the pole, the famous
Yeah,
pole,
yeah.
in the first time they show the pole, it just has like the sigil of that Satanist clan carved into it.
Oh,
But it's not called attention to.
yeah.
It's just there, and so there's all these little things hidden in the
Huh.
periph of the movie. And so watching it was just so much fun to watch and pick apart and be like, oh. And as you do that, at the end of that movie, the first couple times I saw it, there was still I don't know if I get it. And now I totally get it because all of the pieces are there, but it doesn't really hold your hand. So it's trying to invite you to further viewings.
Yeah.
And so this viewing was another just total win.
That's cool.
Really into it. I would highly recommend watching that.
Hey, I wanted to ask you about the fest stuff. Did you see anything as good as Dinner in America at any of the festival stuff? Because I
Yes.
loved that movie so much, and I am curious what else is floating around out there this year that is like that caliber.
I would say that is an extremely high caliber movie.
Yeah.
And it is certainly under consideration for whatever year-end list.
Yeah.
But
like, what other stuff is floating around that like I'm gonna get that excited about? I guess that's what I'm actually trying to ask.
well, what's weird is I had like different experiences about some of the movies that were like big and other ones that because we had like a group text of everybody that was attending the film festival.
Yeah.
And so there was a couple things that like I was like super into that others weren't, and vice versa, and like just it was amazing how differently we all felt about a lot of movies. And so like what I put out there might not be what's buzzing, but there's a couple things that I thought were excellent.
Yeah.
And I also got to say, did you watch Driller Killer yet?
Not yet.
Dude.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
That movie's fucking metal as hell.
Okay, cool.
It's directed. Oh, he directs it so hard.
Yeah.
It's directed so hard, and it stars Abel Ferreira, and he just looks like he stinks like ass, and he plays such a fuck. It's so good. It's not Miss 45 level, but it's one of those things that I was watching, and I'm like, man, this guy can just punch a movie through your head. It's great.
That's when I went to return my videotapes to Vivo Video. I was talking to Santelli about that movie, and former guest of the show, Dan Santelli, video clerk extraordinaire at Viva Video.
We got to get him back soon.
We definitely do. He was like, I'm glad you like Miss 45. You should watch more Abel Ferreira movies. He was like, that's probably like his most refined movie. Like, if what you liked about that was the like sort of the visual experience of it, he was like, you're not necessarily going to get that out of his other movies. That's like the singular movie that is
I would
like
agree
that.
from what I've seen. Like Miss 45 goes down so smooth despite being wild. But I would say that all of his movies have that crazy energy.
Yeah, cool.
Like you wouldn't have the Safdies if you didn't have Abel Ferreira doing Run and Gun New York, just I got a camera, I'm making a movie kind of thing.
Yep.
And but from what I haven't seen all of Abel Ferreira, but I would agree with what Santelli's saying that none have been quite there, but this comes close, at least in terms of how fun it is to watch.
I'm looking forward to it. That's like one of the ones that's been on our list for a bit.
So I was I liked the movie, but I wasn't like over the moon for it. But like the big buzz out of like Everyfest is Sound of Metal,
right?
The
one Riz Ahmed movie,
about Riz Ahmed, where he's a drummer that loses his hearing, and he's great in it, and it's a very good movie. I liked it a lot, but I wanted to like it more than I did. It had weird pacing issues where like his character would be in one place, and then the next scene his character would be totally different because months had passed. And they didn't indicate it in any way. And so like the movie like weirdly gains and loses urgency, and then I thought it like lands on a mixed message that I didn't appreciate. But well, no, it wasn't like that.
I think I read your review of it.
Yeah, the movie takes a weird like, and I could also just have been putting this into it myself. I don't know if it's necessarily in the movie, but I think because of that weird lack of pacing, I wasn't able to always follow where his character was at. And so I think that manifested in the movie sort of like showing disdain towards him wanting to get his hearing back as opposed to just coping. And, on the one hand, it's like as I understand it in the deaf community, that they don't see it as a disability. It's just we have to do things different. And honestly, when you see the way that he takes up with like a sign language, like I don't want to say commune, but there's like I guess it's a commune, and it's so he can learn sign language, and it's just immersion therapy kind of thing where you're just in it. And it was amazing. I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of wild because I don't see any deficiency happening here. So I agree with it. It's like, oh, it's not a disability. But at the same time, the movie seems to harsh on him for wanting to get cochlear implants because he's trying to like get money to do that. That's like his goal throughout the movie. And I think at the end, it lands thematically in a great place and it was really moving. But getting there was a little wonky because if I was a drummer, I'd want my hearing back too. I would certainly do my best to get ready to accept this circumstance and learn and grow with it if need be.
Yeah.
But it all came down to it was because of that pacing. Time would pass in such different elements that I didn't know where he was, so I couldn't tell where the movie was framed. But, that said, I do recommend it. It's still very good.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
Riz Ahmed is like, I mean, he's just the best. I would say I think, why do I feel like we talked about this?
We might have the last time we did an episode. I'm not sure. We have had a little bit of conversation about the festivals.
Well, my favorite thing I saw at the fest was The Killing of Two Lovers. Did we talk about that?
We did talk about this, yeah.
Okay, highly recommend that. I think that's an end of year list lock for me.
Cool.
And probably up there as well is I'm Your Woman.
Yeah, I'm very excited to get my eyes on that.
Fantastic. Working on that. It's one of those movies. It's like it doesn't have a script that follows any sort of typical structure, and so you go through it and you're meeting people left and right. But then you see how these people behave, and then later you sort of learn more about their background without any sort of exposition, and you start to retroactively understand certain things that they did and certain ways that they behave. And it's through this backwards lens that Rachel Brosnahan's character gets this incredible arc. And so, but it's all in the shell of a 70s set crime thriller with gunplay and mobsters and car chases and things like that. But that is, it's not typical that we see a mob movie from a mob wife's point of view. And it's really not typical that we see a 70s crime thriller that's not an exploitation film that's female-led. And so it's just, I don't know, it's just like a really fun, and it's funny and it's weird. And I don't know, I really loved it. And
cool.
It's one of those movies that has like sharp punctuations of insane violence. In and out as fast as you can imagine. But like, it's just a really like sharp and exciting movie. I loved it. And there's needle drops of Aretha Franklin left and right. So
I love that.
Yeah, it's killer. I loved it. So that was very high on my list.
Cool.
A lot of buzz around Black Bear.
Yeah.
I liked Black Bear. I don't know if I get it. Aubrey Plaza's in it, and she is incredible in it. Okay. The movie is a shell for her to do a big, showy, just capital A acting performance, and it's awesome. And it's a good movie, but I think I want to see it again because it does some shifts. Like the conceit of the movie allows it to kind of reinvent itself periodically, and so you follow these reinventions, and I think as you get through it, it doesn't quite explain itself well enough, but it's one where I think that if I watch it again, it probably does. I was just movie drunk at that point, but I'll tell you what, it's a good movie, and
it's cool.
It's one that I'm excited to watch again, and I'm excited to watch other people watch.
It sounds vaguely in the vein of being a little bit surreal, and I've been having a lot of good experiences with surreal stuff. So that sounds about
surreal, and it's surreal in a different way. But that's all I'll say.
Okay, all right.
But it's really good, and the guy who's in it too, he was in Possessor. He plays the possessed body guy. He's in that movie James White, which I hear is awesome, but I haven't seen. That was kind of his breakout. I cannot think of his name off the top of my head. I think Christopher Abbott, is that it?
Oh yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah. I think I know who you mean. Yep.
He's in it, and he's fantastic too. And due to the nature of the movie, he has to play like a couple different ways about his character. Cool. And he typically like broods. Yeah.
That's that's similar in Possessor. He's got to do sort of similar stuff.
Yes, yeah. It's excuse me. It's really good. Like Letterboxd, I give it 3.5 stars, but it has the potential to be 4
Sure.
if I
Yeah.
see it again and get it more. But I think I
Yeah.
was just rocked by movies
Yeah.
at that
I'm
point.
looking forward to that. That sounds cool.
I think let's see, I'll talk about 2 more.
Yeah.
Um, One of them was called Night of the Kings.
What was that?
It's something that I wasn't gonna watch, but Gary was like, "You should watch that." So I was like, "Okay, I'll get." And it was one of my more favorite things I saw. It takes place in a prison, but it's not Nigerian. It might be Nigerian. I don't know, but it's like I'm trying to say this in the least racist way possible. I'm just trying to give you the image, but it's like a prison that has its own culture, and the guards run not the guards. So the prisoners run everything. They are the guards. They're everything, and so
Okay.
it's just abandoned there. And the head of the prison is falling sick, and the way that they unspool the mythology is just kind of it is what it is. Go with it,
Hmm.
because at the beginning there's like some prescript that's like at this jail, this person leads. When that person can't lead anymore, they must pass it to someone else and take their own life. Boom, it starts. So we know this guy is going to have to take his own life because he's on an oxygen tank, he's sickly, and so all these other power taking factions want to take advantage of this moment. And so to delay it, he calls that since there's red moon, it is the night of the Roman. We will elect one person, the Roman, who will tell us stories. And everyone in the prison's like, God damn it, he invoked the Roman protocol. We're just going to have to deal with the storytelling. This is a delay tactic. This is all the setup, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then a new kid at the prison just shows up and he's like, You're the Roman. You got to tell stories. And it's pretty heavily suggested, like, keep telling stories because you get killed when it's done.
Yeah.
So it's just him trying to tell these stories, and as he's telling the stories, there's both flashbacks and the prisoners that are all around him that are almost like hype men do like interpretive reenactments of what he's doing, and like interpretive dance and act outs of the story,
This sounds
improvised
awesome.
as he's doing it. And it's this crazy art form that I've never seen before. And the whole movie is this storytelling aspect with all of these things coming in, but with this bubble of this new world that you don't quite understand, slowly encroaching and giving it like a ticking clock. But it's teaching you how to watch it as you watch it. I've never seen anything like it, but man, it is fucking killer. I loved it.
That sounds awesome.
It's cool. I fail to describe it. All of this that I'm describing can't really do it justice of what
Yeah.
it is, but
What's
highly
it called?
recommend. It's called Night of the Kings.
Okay.
Night of the Kings. Yeah, it's wild.
That sounds awesome.
And then what was the other one I was gonna drop? Because we already talked about Gunda, the cute piggies movie.
Hmm?
Um, there's this one called The Heist of the Century, which was just like the biggest heist in I think Portuguese history. I don't know.
Okay.
And it's co-written by the guy who pulled off this heist.
Whoa.
And it's just the story of how they robbed a bank, and he's just a stoner that robbed a bank. But what's cool about it is you watch it and you go, wow, every heist movie forever is going to be influenced by Soderbergh.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's just there.
Yeah.
But no, the one I wanted to bring up, because it's one that I didn't love, but I liked, was called The Obituary of Tunda Johnson.
Okay. I've never heard of that.
And it's a kid. He's a gay, black, 18-year-old kid. He's pretty well off. And it's the day that he comes out to his family.
Mm.
And then later that night, due to aggressive racist policing, he is killed.
Whoa.
And then he wakes up that day again.
Whoa.
And so it's one of those movies where
Mm-hmm.
but it is and isn't one of those movies, because it's not like Happy Death Day where he's trying to solve why he's in this loop. He almost doesn't seem to understand that he's in this loop,
Mm-hmm.
or does seem to understand. And so it gets like kind of wishy-washy about that, but it's really well acted. The characters are really well done. The messaging is like in your face, but
Mm-hmm.
it was also written by a 20-year-old college student. So it has like this like youthful energy to the
Mm-hmm.
messaging
Mm-hmm.
that even when it gets weirdly melodramatic, it like still hits.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those movies that I really liked. what it was going for, but I think it just needed a little polish on it.
Yeah.
Because where it ends, I was like, I think it lost me. But it lost me in terms of plot, not in terms of what I was supposed to take away from it.
Yeah.
And in that, it's like a home run. But yeah, the obituary of Tunde Johnson
that sounds cool.
is real cool. Yeah, I mean, I could talk about this shit forever. I have so many things.
No, that's fine. I was just curious, like, what other stuff had kind of bubbled to the surface, because I was like so into Dinner.
Jumbo's gonna go.
Oh yeah,
Jumbo's gonna pop up. That one's fantastic. New Order might pop out as a thriller.
I've heard some things about that. Yeah,
that was one that was very mixed in the group chat we had. Like Ryan didn't care for it at all. I really liked it. I think Andy said it was like his favorite of the fest. I couldn't get a read on Gary. Surprise.
Yeah.
I think he liked it. He just only wanted to call it a cattle prod shock to the genitals. That was the only thing he wanted to say about it. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, that Jenna was in a short film called Trashy Booty. I think we talked about that last time. And it's kind of adorable. It's very good.
Oh, hey, you know what? On that note, I got to see Pizza Man this past week.
Yes. How was it?
Pizza Man was delightful.
Nice. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be submitted to some festivals this coming year. So if anybody happens to be watching this and looking for that kind of stuff, it's really delightful. And
I will have to reach out and see if I can get my hands on it.
Yeah. Hopefully that will be viewable next year.
Yeah.
Be at some festivals and stuff.
Yeah, I want to see it. All I've seen is Jenna in werewolf makeup.
Yeah, pretty fun. Pretty fun.
Nice. There was a Zappa documentary called Zappa that was directed by Alex Winter.
Yes, I've heard about this.
And I'm like, I don't know a lot of Zappa.
Yeah, me either.
But like, I know here and there. I know some things. I've listened to some albums, but like, I've been listening to it more as it's just a really it's like 2.5 hours long, so it's like very in depth, but it's very watchable and fun. Yeah, there was like a Banksy doc. There was a Kubrick doc that was pretty good. I think Jumbo is going to be the one that everyone talks about.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think that's already happening. That movie's like, I think people know about Jumbo,
Yeah, and it's got is it Noemi Merlant from from Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and she's wonderful in it.
Yeah,
and she is just heaven to look at. The Come True is this really cool Canadian horror movie.
Yeah.
And it has one of those things where, like, quite literally the very last moment, I was like, oh, fuck you. Fuck you. Because I was so into it. And the ending, I was just like, you cannot. I don't believe that a movie can be this stupid. I was so mad. And even in my review, I was just like, ah. But also in my review, I was like, but as I think about it, the more and more I think about it, and the more and more I recontextualize the movie with that ending, the more and more I go, I think that might be the best thing about it. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, it's great. And even if the ending sinks that for you, up until quite literally the last second, it's awesome.
Yeah, cool.
Super cool. If you like Cronenberg, you'll like it. I mean, it's a Canadian filmmaker doing genre stuff. I even said in my review, I was like, if every American filmmaker that does genre has John Carpenter in their veins, every Canadian's got Cronenberg. Right, and it's very much there. I mean, there's a lot of Romero influence, but they also very much like there's like someone wearing a Romero's whatever shirt. Like there's direct references like that. But it's great. It's got a great lead performance. I've really been puzzled by the ending. But I think that I kind of love the ending.
I really want to see this.
Yeah, it's good,
a great
man.
Poster. That's like it's a movie that's sold on its poster.
It's just like it's your basic thing. It's girl can't sleep, signs up for a sleep study. Strange things are afoot. Like that's as much as you need to know. It's so good.
Yeah, pretty good.
I saw Krisha in Freeland. That was cool. That wasn't bad at all. I liked that a lot.
Yeah, well, I would like to see that. I just like watching her act. She's tremendous.
She's great in it. And it's one that has great sound design, too. That was something that I watched with my headphones in. And as I was watching, I'm like, this is just, like, nice to listen to. It's a good movie. Awesome. But, dude, yesterday, I watched The Last Boy Scout.
Oh, I've never seen it.
2 days ago, I watched The Last Boy Scout for the first time since I was, like, 13. So, the first time. You have got to watch that movie. Because it is Shane Black in 1991.
Right.
So the dialogue is like, quick and boom, boom, boom. But because it's 1991, it's like just aggressively macho,
Yep.
Aggressively misogynistic,
Yep.
aggressively just like, there's some terminology used that you're like, oh, okay. But it is very much of its time in that sense. But if you appreciate movies of that time and in that flavor, it is fucking insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Who directed that?
Tony Scott.
Okay, I thought so. Yeah.
Tony Scott, Shane Black, Bruce Willis, who I discovered while I was watching it, is the same age that I am now in that movie.
Jesus.
And I believe Damon Wayans, who would be younger than both of us in that movie.
Oh my God.
But yeah, it's Halle Berry's in it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, a lot of people. It's truly bonkers.
I would love to see it.
Very aggressively over the top, and like more than a few lines that I like did the blink where I was like, I forgot. Yeah, this was 30 years ago. It's wild, man, but it's such a joy. There's so many good just back and forth like dumb one-liners, but as many of those, there's also just one-liners that aren't quippy, but they just are delivered that way.
Yeah.
Like at one point, Bruce Willis is just like, "Yeah, I was supposed to be your bodyguard," and Damon Wayans is like, "You couldn't protect a warm glass of piss." And it's like played like it's supposed to be quippy, but it's just like you just wanted to say warm glass of piss.
Yes.
Shane Black, who was definitely coked up when he wrote this.
Yes. That's so
But I'll
funny.
tell you what, my review on Letterboxd was that I would give it 100 stars if I could, but since I can't, I'll just give it 4. This is one of those.
I understand.
Yeah, it's there. It's nuts, man. It's truly
I
nuts.
would love to see that movie. We watched The Hunger. I think we talked about this on an episode.
Yeah. I gotta watch that still.
And I loved it, and it really put me on the Tony Scott tip. I want to investigate me some Tony Scott.
Before he descended into too much hyperactiveness in some of his later output, he was like a real crisp filmmaker.
Yeah.
And it shows the direction in this is nuts, and there's like great stunt work. Powerfully violent. Powerfully violent. Lots of there's one like surprise explosion that I must have ran back like 10 times just because the way it was framed made it seem so violent, like someone's body was shredded. It's you want stuntmen on fire? There's plenty. You want car chases, intrigue, machine guns, like unbelievable squibs happening where people are this movie's got it all. The Last Boy Scout, unreal. And nobody breathes oxygen. Everyone just breathes cigarettes. It's crazy. Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it's good. Bruce McGill's in it. You know him. Bruce McGill's in it. Everybody.
What do I know Bruce McGill from?
He just always in this. He's like fellow PI.
Fellow PI. Oh, is that what they are? They're PIs?
Well, what it is Bruce Willis is a PI, and he's assigned to protect somebody, and this somebody is
Bruce McGill. Wait, look at the fucking photo of
there
Bruce McGill on IMDb.
Yep.
Wait, look at his shirt. Like, really, really look. Can you see the shirt that he's wearing?
Yeah, he's got the little like foliage designs going on because he's a delicate flower at the top.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're like PIs, and he inherits a job from Bruce McGill. Bruce McGill's like, I don't want this job. Do you want it? And so, of course, he's got to tell somebody, and this person is killed, and Damon Wayans is around. So now they're stuck together trying to solve this murder.
Yeah.
But they don't really like each other. They don't like each other because Damon Wayans used to be a football player, and it was Bruce Willis's favorite football player, except he like got into drugs and fell out, so now he's mad, and it's the most macho fucking bullshit you've ever heard, and it's the best.
So funny.
It's so good. And it's so funny. It's unreal.
I would like to watch.
You should definitely watch it. The Last Boy Scout. It
seems like I would enjoy.
It's a time capsule, man. Through and through. Through and through. What are we on time?
Dude, we're on time. That's
Cool.
exactly what we are. We're on time.
We're on
Let's
time.
Get the hell out of here.
Right on.
I don't know. Is there anything we need to plug other than the usuals?
I think
We're
it's just
on
the usuals.
Twitter and Facebook at I Like Two Movie. It's numeric 2. I'm trying to get the show on Spotify. We haven't popped up there yet, but when I submitted it, it said it would be like a week or two before we would really know. So
Cool. So
hopefully
check
you can
Spotify.
hopefully you can find us on Spotify soon. I think that would make it very easy for a lot of our listeners. And email us, I like 2movie@gmail.com. We got some exciting episodes coming up. So keep with us here on YouTube and on our normal feed.
Right on.
Oh, and I'm on Twitter and Letterboxd at Filmadelphia. It's with an F. And check me out on cinema76.com.
I am at Dan Scully on all of those same things. Also on cinema76.com, Findy.com. Check out Hot Property. We dropped our election special this week. It only accidentally became the election special because we riffed into a whole wrestling scenario between Biden and Trump. It was a lot of fun. It was therapeutic in the moment.
Yeah.
And I thought by the time the episode went up, we'd have an answer, but we do not. Nah. And I believe that is it. Actually, you should, if you want to go back and do a blast from the past episode of Movie where we did Dead Man, if you check out the feed of Depp Impact, the show that we did the crossover with, that has recently gone up there. So I think also, given the state of the nation, now's a great time to go back and watch Dead Man, give it a listen, and do it on the Depp Impact feed if you do.
Indeed. All right, let's get out of here. My name is Garrett Smith, and I like to movie.
My name is Dan Scully, and I like to movie.
And we all know that you like to movie because
we like to
movie.